Hello children, you are watching EduSet through Doordarshan. Today's topic is Wonder Thirst. It is written by Gerald Gold, the romantic poet of 19th century. Now you can see the scene, Wonder Thirst, a beautiful scene. Gerald Gold had such vision and a thirst for wandering. He was a poet of 19th century England and he was a romantic poet. And you know, children, that winter is over now and summer is approaching. And you know, winter is gradually going away from us and summer is coming very fast. So we are expecting the pinching heat of the summer, but yet we have the remembrance of the winter. We enjoyed winter and we went to beautiful places. You also enjoyed winter. You might have gone to beautiful places of scenic beauty that we'll see. You have enjoyed the scenic beauty in beautiful places. Sometimes you went to places, you saw the sunrise. You had the experience of wandering in the hills of greeneries. You also went to garden of flowers. You saw the murmuring stream and you had a vision of the forest flowers and you experienced going through the forest and you enjoyed it. And these places are unique because they have a pictorial beauty. You will see one after another. Now we'll see scenic beauties. You see this particular scene. Do you not enjoy this scene? How beautiful the scene is. And it charms our mind. We are enthralled by it. Next. We see a sunrise and everybody is very much delighted to see this type of scene. And we'll go for the next scene. Here we find the hills of greeneries. And when you might have gone to these places, you might have enjoyed doing your picnic over there. How beautiful this place was, and you enjoyed going there in winter. Next, garden of flowers. You also visited garden of flowers. You visited parks and you enjoyed those flowers, the beauty of the flowers, and you liked them. So you had a very pleasant experience of winter, and you enjoyed winter very much. And you saw these scenes and you are enthralled by it because these scenes had beautiful presentation and you enjoyed the forest flowers also. I'm talking about these beautiful scenes, what you saw now, just now, how you enjoyed going there to these places and you were very much charmed by them and you cannot forget those scenes from your mind. You have the feeling that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Now this was realized by John Keats, the romantic poet of England, who believed that a beautiful thing gives us joy. So a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases and it will never pass into nothingness, he said. And there you find the beauty of the flowers and it gives us joy. Now, we fall a victim to such beauty. And when we see beautiful things, we are attracted by it. Now, you will find such scenes which attract you. Next, we try to quench our thirst. We take a glass of water. And we try to quench our hunger. We take delicious dishes. We go to places of scenic beauty and crowds of tourists, they also visit such place. They enjoy the place. And people have the love for freedom. They enjoy it. You will find such scenes which will enthrall you, which will delight you, which will give you joy. Now let us go for such scenes. The delicious dishes. You have a craze for all delicious dishes. You like to eat those dishes. You quench your hunger by taking delicious dishes of food. Next, you are thirsty, so you take a glass of water and you quench your thirst by drinking a glass of water. Now, crowds of tourists, they visit the place of monuments, they see it and they get joy. They observe it and they derive a great pleasure out of it. Now, people love for freedom and therefore they want to wander from place to place and they like it and they have a craze for wandering and everybody loves freedom. There is nobody who doesn't love freedom. Next. Now, therefore, what we do, we try to imprison the beauty. We take cameras with us, we take mobiles. When you have visited such scenic places, you might have taken cameras and mobiles and might have tried to imprison the beauty in your camera and mobiles, and you might have derived a great pleasure out of it. Now, you can see such scenes where you find how people, they try to imprison the beauty. Yes, next scene. You see a lady using her mobile and taking a snap of the beautiful scene, and she is trying to imprison the beauty in her mobile. Next, by camera and mobiles, we try to imprison the beauty and we try to derive pleasure, great pleasure out of it. Now, you have such experience of deriving great pleasure, and when you go to such places, you take vehicles, you wander from place to place, and you use different types of vehicles. You take the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, you take buses, you go by train, and you go by plane, and you go to different places. Now you see the visuals like vehicles, you take these types of vehicles, you travel from place to place and you wander. You try to go to the places of scenic beauty and you try to wander and you try to get pleasure. Next. It so happened that man's desire for more and then man tried to go to space. Now here is Kalpana Chawla going to space, and you see in everybody's mind there is a sense of wonder. There is a sense of wonder to explore things in the world. And so people in course of their wandering, they meet with accidents. They meet with a lot of difficulties, but yet the craze for wandering goes on and it never stops because it is a common thing with every human being, and nobody can escape from it, escape from the vision of wandering, because everybody wants to explore the world, explore new places. And so people have such vision, even if they encounter with difficulties and they encounter with problems, but they never give up wandering. They go from place to place and they try to derive pleasure out of it. Next. Now, so travel is a kind of romance, and it is a passion, it's a mania, it's an obsession, it is a compulsion, it is an addiction, it is an enthusiasm, it is a craze, it is a madness. Now you see how travel is a kind of romance. You can see the visual and realize to travel is a romance. We travel for romance. To wander is a romance. And to travel, we travel to be lost in our thought and mind. We become emotional. We are emotionally charged because we have a sense to wander. And next, we have a passion to wander. The old woman is wandering in the forest, and she is getting delighted and she is enjoying her time. Next, and we have a mania to wander. We go to different places and we enjoy seeing different scenes. And next, we have an obsession to wander. We go to beautiful scenic spots and we enjoy. We have a kind of obsession there. And next, we have the compulsion to wander. Sometimes we are bound to go and we try to enjoy the scenic spots. And a child is wandering in that scenic spot and she is lost in her thought and she is enjoying her time. Now next. Now we have an addiction to wonder. We are born to wonder, and by wondering we explore new things and we get a lot of pleasure from that activity. Yes, next. And we have an enthusiasm to wonder. We are eager to go to new places and we try to enjoy the beautiful places and try to derive pleasure out of it. And so there was, next I will be talking about the beautiful expression given by romantic poets, and I will be talking about them after some time. But let you remember that wonder is a kind of romance. You cannot forget it. So wondering will be there. It is a human passion. Nobody can get out of it. It is a human craze. It is a human madness. And everybody gets lost in wandering. Everybody has a liking for wandering from place to explore new places and to get acquainted with new kind of experience. And so I thought that these scenes would awake in your mind a sense of wandering, and you will enjoy the poem very well.
ମୋ ନାଁ ଲାବଣ୍ୟବତୀ ତିରିଆ।
ମୋ ନାଁ ଅର୍ଚ୍ଚନା ମଲ୍ଲିକ। ମୋ ନାଁ ଗିରିଧର ମାହାଳି।
ମୋ ନାଁ ମୀନାକ୍ଷୀ ସେଠୀ।
ରାଜ୍ୟ ସରକାରଙ୍କ ନିଷ୍ପତ୍ତି ଅନୁସାରେ ପଞ୍ଚମରୁ ଦ୍ୱାଦଶ ଅଧ୍ୟୟନରତ ଅନୁସୂଚିତ ଜାତି, ଜନଜାତି ଓ ଅନ୍ୟାନ୍ୟ ପଛୁଆ ବର୍ଗର ଛାତ୍ରଛାତ୍ରୀମାନଙ୍କୁ ଅଗ୍ରାଧିକାର ଭିତ୍ତିରେ ସେମାନଙ୍କ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟରୁ ହିଁ ଶିକ୍ଷକ କିମ୍ବା ଅଧ୍ୟକ୍ଷଙ୍କ ଜରିଆରେ ସ୍ଥାୟୀ ଜାତିଗତ ପ୍ରମାଣପତ୍ର ଯୋଗାଇ ଦିଆଯିବ। ଏଣିକି ପିଲାଏ ଖୁସିରେ ପଢ଼ିବେ ପାଠ, ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟରେ ମିଳିବ ଜାତିଗତ ପ୍ରମାଣପତ୍ର।
ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ 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 ପଦୁ ଗଳୁଛି ମକରନ୍ଦ, ସେ ମକରନ୍ଦ ପାନ କରି ହେଳେ ତରିଲେ ବ୍ରଜ ନାରୀ।
ଆଇ ତୁମର କି ତୋଫା ଆଲୁଅ, ତା କି ଆଲୁଅ କି?
ସୂର୍ଯ୍ୟ ଆଲୁଅ, ଦିନରେ ବି ରାତିରେ ବି ସବୁବେଳେ ଏମିତି।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆଇ, ଆମର ଲାଇନ କଟି ଗଲେ ଫୋନ କଲେ ଲାଇନ ମ୍ୟାନ ଆସି ସଜାଡ଼ି ଦିଏ। ତମର ଲାଇନ କଟି ଗଲେ କିଏ ସଜାଡ଼େ? ତମେ କଣ ସୂର୍ଯ୍ୟକୁ ଫୋନ କର?
ବକିଟା କିଲୋ, ସୂର୍ଯ୍ୟଙ୍କୁ ନୁହେଁ, ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ନମ୍ବରଟା ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି ଦେଖେ, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଲାଇନ କଟିଯିବ ଏଇ ନମ୍ବରରେ ଫୋନ କରିଦେଲେ ସବୁ ସମାଧାନ। ସେଇ ତୋଫା ଆଲୁଅ ହେଲା। 1803457135।
ଅନୁସୂଚିତ ଜାତି ଓ ଜନଜାତିର ଛାତ୍ରଛାତ୍ରୀମାନେ ସହରାଞ୍ଚଳରେ ରହି ମହାବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟ, ବୈଷୟିକ ତଥା ବୃତ୍ତିଗତ ଅନୁଷ୍ଠାନମାନଙ୍କରେ ସୁବିଧାରେ ପାଠ ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ ମାନ୍ୟବର ମୁଖ୍ୟମନ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଶ୍ରୀଯୁକ୍ତ ନବୀନ ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକଙ୍କର ଯୁଗାନ୍ତକାରୀ ଯୋଜନା ଆକାଂକ୍ଷା। ଏହି ଯୋଜନା ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ସହରାଞ୍ଚଳରେ ରହି ପାଠ ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ ସମସ୍ତ ସୁବିଧା ସହ ହଷ୍ଟେଲ ନିର୍ମାଣ କରାଯାଇଛି ଏବଂ ଛାତ୍ରୀମାନଙ୍କର ରହିବା ଓ ଖାଇବାର ସୁବନ୍ଦୋବସ୍ତ କରାଯାଇଛି। ଖୁବ୍ ଶୀଘ୍ର ରାଜ୍ୟର ଅନ୍ୟ ପ୍ରମୁଖ ସହରାଞ୍ଚଳରେ ଏହିଭଳି ସୁବିଧା ସୁଯୋଗ ଯୋଗାଇ ଦିଆଯିବ ଜନଜାତି ଛାତ୍ରୀମାନଙ୍କୁ। ଆକାଂକ୍ଷାର ସୁଯୋଗ ନିଅନ୍ତୁ, ନିଜର ଉଚ୍ଚଶିକ୍ଷା ଅଭିଳାଷକୁ ସାକାର କରନ୍ତୁ।
You saw how man has the passion for wandering from place to place and how man goes for wandering. And he has a craze for wonder. You will see this picture, how beautiful the picture is. And when the man goes there, he enjoys looking at the picture. He has a craze for wonder. And here the people are enjoying and they are walking in the sea beach, and they have a madness to wonder, and they are walking in the water, and the sea waves are coming and they are enjoying. So they have a madness to wonder. So you find that there was a poet, Gerald Gould, who was in a mood to wander, and he wandered from place to place, and he enjoyed his time, and he was a romantic poet, and he wrote this poem, beautiful poem, Wonder Thirst, where he described about how a man wanders from place to place and he tries to explore things. Now, he thought like Wordsworth, Shelley, Byron, Keats, and all these poets are romantic poets of 19th century. They were romantic poets and they wrote romantic poems. And after the half of the 18th century, in the beginning of 19th century, these poets, they wrote romantic poems. Wordsworth, William Wordsworth, his full name, and you find his portrait here. William Wordsworth, who was a lover of nature. Next, P.B. Shelley, he was also a lover of nature. Next, Lord Byron, he was also a romantic poet. And next, John Keats. I just quoted the line from John Keats, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases and it will never pass into nothingness." And he was John Keats. Now, Gerald Gould also thought like romanticists, and he was also included in the group of romantists of England. And Gerald Gould wrote this wonderful poem, Wanderthirst. And Gerald Gould was an English poet and a journalist. And he had the poems which were full of sweetness, strength, and vision. And his poems were of high order. And he had an urge to travel. And that was very stronger in him. And he had a love for nature, or love of nature, and an inner urge to explore beautiful things of this world and beautiful places of the world. So we are today reading a poem that is Wanderthirst by Gerald Gould. You will find the poem in the screen. Beyond the east the sunrise, beyond the west the sea, and east and west the wanderthirst that will not let me be. It works in me like madness, dear, to bid me say goodbye, for the seas call and the stars call, and oh, the call of the sky. Next. I know not where the white road runs, nor what the blue hills are, but a man can have the sun for a friend, and for his guide a star. And there is no end of voicing when once the voice is heard, for the rivers call and the roads call, oh, the call of the bird. Next. Yonder the long horizon lies, and there by night and day the old ships draw to home again, the young ships sail away. And come I may, but go I must. And if man ask you why, you may put the blame on the stars and the sun and the white road and the sky. This is the poem of Wanderthirst written by Gerald Gould. And we'll go by each stanza now. We'll come to the first stanza, that is by Gerald Gould. Now the first stanza is beyond the east the sunrise. In the east you find the sunrise, and beyond the west the sea. You can see the sea. This is the sea, and it is in the west. And on the one side you found the sunrise, and on the other side you found the sea. And they are unlike each other, but they both appeal to the poet very much. Now you can see the stars in the sky, and here he has described beyond the east the sunrise, beyond the west the sea, and east and west the wanderthirst that will not let me be. It works in me like madness to bid me say goodbye, for the seas call and the stars call, oh, the call of the sky. Now the stars call him, and instead it makes him say goodbye to his kith and kin, and he wants to go out to explore the world. And these elements of nature call out to the poet to explore them all down to their very last details. Now you can see these beautiful scenes. They call the poet to explore the world, to explore new places. Now we'll go for the next lines. Now, I know not where the white road runs, nor what the blue hills are, but a man can have the sun for a friend, and for his guide a star. And there is no end of voicing when once the voice is heard, for the rivers call and the roads call, and oh, the call of a bird. I know not where the white road runs, Now the poet finds the white road, but he says he has the knowledge of the white road, but he doesn't know about it. He doesn't know about the blue hills. And this particular scene, you can find the blue hills. The poet has a vision about the blue hills, but he has no experience of such hill. Next. Now, the sun he can find, and he can find the sun in the sky, and he enjoys it. And I know not where the white road runs, nor what the blue hills are, but a man can have the sun for a friend. A sun will be his friend, and the sun will guide him, and the star will guide him. And there is no end of voyaging. Voyaging will go on. It will never end. And there's a call, there's a voice, and the voice comes from within, from the soul of the poet. The voice comes, and the voice comes from outside also, from the nature. And the river presents a beautiful scene, and this calls the poet very much. The road calls, the rivers call, and the bird calls. At last you find the birds. The birds are flying in the sky, and they are an attraction for the poet, and they also call the poet. So the poet is lost in his thoughts to wander in the white road and to go to the blue hills and to take the sun as his guide and to go on voyaging and to see the river. And he just hears the call from the river and hears the call from the birds. The nature calls him to go into their realm and to enjoy the objects of nature. Now, we'll go for the next stanza. The next stanza is, yonder the long horizon lies, and there by night and day the old ships draw to home again, the young ships sail away. And come I may, but go I must. And if men ask you why, you may put the blame on the stars and the sun and the white road and the sky. So the poet says that he can easily see the horizon if he looks around. This is the horizon. The poet looks at the horizon, and from that horizon he can detect the two-way movement of ships. And the first way in which the ships move is to sail back to land from the sea. And this is the kind of movement one sees in ships that have become old and have made the man's journey. And the other way in which the ships move is from land out to sea. And this is the kind of movement one sees in young ships that have not been operating for a long time. Now, similarly, poet makes two kinds of movement. Now, he doesn't come home once in a while, but he has a wandering, he has a longing for travel, and however, he cannot remain on land for long. Like young ships, he want to go and experience. And the only probable answer one can give on the poet's behalf is that he cannot ignore the calls of the sun, he cannot ignore anything, and he has to go, he has to make a travel, and all the elements of nature demands that he will go for traveling from place to place, and he will enjoy the beauty of nature. And therefore, he has an urge to go into the realm of nature and to enjoy the beauty of nature. And therefore, the poet has a craze for nature, and he says that he has to wander, he has to explore, he has to enjoy the beauty of nature, and he has to go from place to place, and therefore he cannot remain at home, and he will go farther and farther until his desire is satisfied, because he has a craze for wandering, he has a craze for going from place to place, and therefore the poet longs for wandering, he has a thirst for wonder.
ଅଗ୍ରଣୀ ଘରୋଇ ଶିକ୍ଷାନୁଷ୍ଠାନ ମାନଙ୍କରେ ଛାତ୍ରଛାତ୍ରୀମାନଙ୍କୁ ଗୁଣାତ୍ମକ ଶିକ୍ଷାର ସୁଯୋଗ ଦେବା ପାଇଁ ମାନ୍ୟବର ମୁଖ୍ୟମନ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଶ୍ରୀଯୁକ୍ତ ନବୀନ ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଆରମ୍ଭ କରାଯାଇଛି ଅଭିନବ ଯୋଜନା ଅନ୍ୱେଷା। ପ୍ରତିବର୍ଷ 5,000ରୁ ଉର୍ଦ୍ଧ୍ୱ ଅନୁସୂଚିତ ଜାତି ଓ ଜନଜାତିର ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ 17 ଗୋଟି ଜିଲ୍ଲାର ସହରାଞ୍ଚଳରେ ସ୍ଥାପିତ ଅଗ୍ରଣୀ ଘରୋଇ ଶିକ୍ଷାନୁଷ୍ଠାନମାନଙ୍କରେ ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ ସୁଯୋଗ ଦେବା ସହିତ ରହିବା, ଖାଇବା, ଟ୍ୟୁସନ୍ ଫି ପୋଷାକ ବହିପତ୍ର ଓ ଯାତାୟାତ ବାବଦକୁ 44,000 ଟଙ୍କା ଯୋଗାଇ ଦିଆଯାଉଛି। ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କ ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ଅନ୍ୱେଷା ଯୋଜନାରେ ସାମିଲ କରନ୍ତୁ, ତାଙ୍କ ଭବିଷ୍ୟତ ତିଆରି କରନ୍ତୁ।
ଏହି ଶିକ୍ଷାବର୍ଷରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା ରାଜ୍ୟର 100ଟି ବ୍ଲକ ହେଡକ୍ୱାର୍ଟର୍ସରେ 100ଟି ଆଦର୍ଶ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟ। ଆମର ପ୍ରିୟ ମୁଖ୍ୟମନ୍ତ୍ରୀ ନବୀନ ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକଙ୍କର ଏହି ସ୍ୱପ୍ନ ଶିକ୍ଷା କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ ନୂଆ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ। କେନ୍ଦ୍ରୀୟ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟର ଢାଞ୍ଚା, ସିବିଏସ୍ଇ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ଶିକ୍ଷା, ଓଡ଼ିଶା ସରକାରଙ୍କର ଆଉ ଏକ ଅଧ୍ୟାୟ। ଗ୍ରାମାଞ୍ଚଳର ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସବୁ ବ୍ଲକରେ ହେବ ଆଦର୍ଶ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟ।
The poet wanted to travel from place to place, and it was a time when people did not travel through land, they traveled through sea, because voyaging was the only media through which they could go, and no other locomotives or other vehicles were invented in that time. And so it was a world of porous borders. We'll come to that. And we had fixed boundaries that started in the beginning of 20th century. We had the fixed boundaries. Locomotives were not invented in that time. Next, it was a time when people looked at the celestial bodies like sun and moon and the stars to go to different places, because they were voyaging, and while voyaging in the sea, they took the help of the sun, took the help of the stars, took the help of the moon, and they went on the voyage. And the traveling was considered to be an adventurous work, and man had not mapped out the world by that time, and it took a long time to explore the world. And today in 20th, 21st century, we think of the world as a global village. That was not realized in the beginning of 18th century. And in the beginning of 19th century also, this concept was not there. And people always took the help of ships and wandered from place to place. So it was a sense of wandering that made the poet to think of wandering from place to place. And in such a situation, the poet wrote such a poem, beautiful poem, Wanderthast, and he gave the concept of wandering, because he found that only by wandering we can explore new things and come to new lands, and we can enjoy the beauty, and we can try to explore new ideas. Next, we have a central idea of this poem, Wanderthast, that the poet has the irresistible desire for wandering, desire for travel, that it never ended with him, and it was a madness in the poet. It was a kind of craze, it was a kind of longing for the poet that remained with him for long. And he took every opportunity. He said man should take every opportunity to travel, and men should seize the moment. That carpe diem theory was realized by Gerald Gold, and he said you should seize the opportunity, the present opportunity, and try to enjoy the realities of nature. And therefore he said that the sun and stars were the guide in that time, particular time when Gerald Gold wrote this poem. Sun and stars, like celestial bodies, they guided the travelers on the sea. And so in Wonder Thirst, you find the thirst for wonder, the craze for wonder, the passion for wonder, the craze for wonder, the obsession for wonder, that was there. And this is reflected in the poem very much. So this is the theme of the poem. And let us go for the other ideas. Now, in the poem, the poet has used the particular word call as many times as possible. And he says the natural sceneries, the natural elements, they call the poet to go to different places, to explore different places. And therefore, the poet has used a lot of maritime metaphors in the poem. And he has used the sheep, he has used the sea. All these things are used in the poem very well. And it was a time when people did not have any idea of compass or GPS. Now you have the knowledge of GPS. You can go to any place taking the help of GPS technique. Now ships we are given, ships are presented in this particular poem. And old ships and young ships, they are symbolizing the old generation and new generation. The poet tells that the new generation should explore. The old generation has already experienced of exploring, but the new generation should go ahead. Now for the poet, life is a journey, and everyone should enjoy the journey, because in the course of journey you will encounter with difficulties, but the very movement in the journey, it gives you a kind of pleasure. The exploration of different facts and places will give you a lot of pleasure. And the elements of earth, all these natural elements call the poet very much. And the poet says that life is a gift of God to us. We should try to enjoy our life like this. And next. Now, there is a tone of the poem. And what is that tone? The tone is the undiminished enthusiasm that is very much there in the poet. The poet has the great enthusiasm, he has the great eagerness, he has the great pleasure, he has a great craze for wandering from place to place. So it never comes to an end in the poet. It is enlivened all through. And he wants to make a journey, and he wants to make an adventure into the unknown. And there is an irrepressible desire to explore new lands, and that is very much reflected in this poem. And so the poem tells us that man's enthusiasm is getting reflected in this poem, and the poet is making a journey, and the poet wants to make an adventure. And here, like a romantic element in romantic literature, in the world of romanticists, an adventure is there. Now, a romantic poet wrote about adventure, and here is Gerald Gold, who wrote about adventure, and he had the desire to explore new lands. And so you find Gerald Gold a great romanticist, because he had all the elements of romanticist. Next. In the poem you find call is used. This particular word is used as many times as possible, because the natural call, the call of the natural elements, steers the poet's mind, and it supports his imagination, and the temptation to go to new lands steers his thoughts very much, and he is impelled to go on voyaging from place to place. And he is bewitched by the beauty of nature. He is beautiful with the beauty of nature. And as a human being, he has an irresistible desire to wander. And therefore, the poet tries to attend to the nature's call, and he supports his imagination because he wants to attend to the nature's call and to go into the midst of nature, to the realm of nature, to enjoy the nature very much. And therefore, in this particular poem, you find the call is very significant because it has a very beautiful meaning, the meaning of the call of nature that you might have marked. And that is why the poet has used this particular word so many times in the poem. And we find that the irresistible desire of the poet finds expression in the poem in these three stanzas. Wander thus, the thirst never ends, and it goes on, and it will never end. And the poet gives us the message that such wandering should be there with the new generation to explore new lands.
बुक करंतु एठी www.ecotourorissa.com।
राज्यर अनुसूचित जाति और जनजातिर छात्र छात्री मानक शिक्षा पाई निरंतर उद्यमरत मान्यवर मुख्यमंत्री श्रीयुक्त नवीन पट्टनायक दूरदृष्टि संपन्न प्रचेष्टा जोगु आज राज्य तथा राज्य बाहर पढ़ुवा मैट्रिक परवर्ती 3,24,000 रु ऊर्ध्व छात्र छात्री मानक छात्रवृत्ति जगाई दि जाउथबा बेले प्राय प्रतिवर्ष 18 लाख रु अधिक छात्र छात्री 1055 कोटी रु अधिक टंका छात्रवृत्ति आकार दि जाउछि। छात्र छात्री मानक पई अनुदान प्राप्त विद्यालय गुड़िकरे ट्यूशन फी और बोर्ड परीक्षा फी मध्य छाड़ करा जाइछि। पिलामाने ठीक समय छात्रवृत्ति आवेदन करंतु, निरंतर शिक्षा बजाय रखंतु।
Now, we saw how Gerald Gold was very much influenced by this kind of sensibility, and he had a sense of wandering from place to place. Let us go for the next slides and analyze the other things of the poem. Man's helplessness, when we talk of how man is helpless in the realm of nature. He cannot do anything. He becomes a victim to beautiful things. He falls a victim to the beauties, and he has nothing to do because man is helpless. And it was a time when God created this beautiful world and asked Adam and Eve not to eat the golden apple, but you are reminded of that story how Eve took the apple and asked Adam to take the apple, and they fell a victim to that beautiful golden apple. So the golden apple attraction comes to our mind when we think of man's helplessness and how a man becomes a victim to such beauty. And we have a vision to travel and we are to see beautiful places. We cannot avoid it. This is a human feature, and every human being has a craze for traveling. Every human being has a craze for wandering. Nobody is free from it. And therefore, a human being clings to a decision to travel. And throughout his life, he wants to travel from place to place. He wants to enjoy beautiful places, explore beautiful places, and to see and experience, derive pleasure out of that, and to gain knowledge. Now, next, we'll go for thinking about the romantic poets, how they wrote such poems. You can think of William Wordsworth. He was a poet of nature and he was a worshipper of nature. You are reminded of the Solitary Reaper and Lucy poem, and how beautifully Wordsworth wrote those beautiful poems. And in these romantic poetry, you find imagination takes the lead. The poet's imagination, it predominates over everything, over reasoning, over logic. Imagination is everything in romantic poetry. And in romantic poetry, you will find emotion takes the front seat. And without emotion, a romanticist cannot write a poem. And so all the romantic poets, they had the heightened emotion and they had the heightened sensibility. And they had a great passion for wandering, they had a great passion for adventure, they had a great passion for taking risk, and they had a great passion for love. They were passionate lovers. And the romantic poems were subjective poems because the poet sometimes wrote about himself, and the poet wrote it subjectively without presenting the objects. He writes about his own feelings. His own feelings find more places in his expression. And so the romantic poems are subjective by nature. And there is a kind of music, there is a kind of lyricism you can find in romantic poems, and that is very much present in all the romantic poets, also in Gerald Gold, in Wanderthirst. And there is another feature of romanticism, that is boldness. And this boldness is very important. Can we go for the next, sir? Yes, boldness. The adventure is there. And I was talking about the Carpe Diem theory. The Carpe Diem theory is a theory realized by the romanticists. And there is a common everyday language which is used by the romanticists. In all romantic poems you will find such thing. And so all these features, they belong to the romantic poems. And romantic poems, they express all these features. And so Gerald Gold was no exception to it. He was a romantic poet and he belonged to the great romanticists and the series of romanticists. And now go for the next one, sir. We'll be discussing about the figures of speech to the children. Now, children, in every poem, you will find some figures of speech that is there. And in prose as well as in poetry, you have the figures of speech. And in a poem, most of the poems, you have the unique unison or combination of different figures of speech like simile, metaphor, images, alliteration, onomatopoeia. All these things are combined there in the poem. Now you find alliteration. Now you see what is that alliteration. It's the same sound of vowel or consonant. When it is repeated in the poem, we call the poet has used alliteration in the poem. I know not where the white road runs, nor what the blue hills are. Now you see W, that where and white, and then what. how many times the consonant, very word, the consonant is used 3 times. So you'll find when the consonant sounds and the vowel sounds are repeated, we find alliteration in the poem. Next. And what is the next one, sir? We'll go for the next one. And after alliteration, we'll go for repetition. When the words are repeated, beyond the east, the sunrise, beyond the west, the sea, for the sea's call and the star's call, and oh, the call of the sky. You see, call, the very word call is repeated as many times as possible. And so you find such repetition is very much present in the poem like Wander Thirst. And call is used 6 times in this poem. This is unique. Next, we'll go for the next slide. Antithesis, when the opposite ideas are expressed in the poem. Now you see, yonder, meaning there the long horizon lies, and there by night and day, the old ships draw to home again, the young ships sail away. And come I may, but and if men ask you why, and east and west the wonder thirst that will not let me be. Antithesis, opposite ideas are presented. Now, long horizon, yonder the long horizon lies, they are night and day, and old ships, young ships, old ships, young ships, they are very much presented there. These are the opposite ideas expressed in such poem like Wonder Thirst. Next. Now, simile. In line 3, you find the use of simile. It works in me like madness to bid me say goodbye. It works in me like madness. So the poet is reflecting himself and he says that he is mad after it. So madness is compared. With the feeling. So there is a sense of a simile here. And when you read the title of the poem, you find the metaphorical use of desire with thirst. Now you see, the thirst is something and desire is something, and wonder thirst, it is not, it is the sense of wonder is there. So instead of putting desire, you can put wonder thirst. That is the metaphor used by the poet in the poem. And so you find the poet has used too many figures of speech, and you can enjoy the poem. If you read the poem time and again, you can enjoy the poem very much, and you should read it as many times as possible. And the most important feature of the form of poetry in Romanticism, it is imagination, as I told. The phenomenon of the imagination or the essence of imagination, it is described in Romantic poetry. It is possible to attain a transcendental experience in Romantic poetry. Now, it takes us nearer to spiritual. And another philosophy that goes within, that is, enjoy yourself while you have the chance. That's why I was telling Carpe Diem theory. Roman poet gave this phrase, Carpe Diem, and that means seize the day, and that is the focus of Romanticism. You find beautiful pictures on the screen, and all these beautiful pictures, they enthrall you, they give you pleasure, and they give you permanent pleasure, eternal pleasure. Once you go to these beautiful places, you cannot forget them. You want to be there for long, but you have a sense of responsibility. You come back. But again, the poet says that you have to go back to such beautiful places and to enjoy the beauty of nature. So you might have enjoyed the poem very much, The Wonder Thirst by Gerald Gold, and it's a beautiful poem. It's a romantic poem, and a romanticist has written about it, and it came in a time when you have a sense of wandering. The very sense is with you also. You want to travel from place to place. You want to wander from place to place, and you have such craze for travel. So you marked how Gerald Gold used his different kind of words to explain the beauty of nature, and also he used some figures of speech to give a beautiful form to the poem, and you might have enjoyed all these things very much. So today we have come to the end of this discussion of Wanderthirst by Gerald Gold, and you might have enjoyed listening to it. Thank you very much for your cooperation and for your understanding. If you have understood it well, I will be very happy.
ଖ୍ରୀଷ୍ଟପୂର୍ବ 10,000 ବର୍ଷ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ମଣିଷ ଯାଯାବର ଭାବରେ ଜୀବନଯାପନ କରୁଥିଲା। ବଣରେ ରହୁଥିଲା, ବଣରୁ ଫଳମୂଳ ସଂଗ୍ରହ କରି ଜୀବିକା ନିର୍ବାହ କରୁଥିଲା। ବଣର ଫଳମୂଳ ଯେତେବେଳେ ତାର ଆବଶ୍ୟକତାକୁ ପୂରଣ କରିପାରିଲା ନାହିଁ, ସେତେବେଳେ ମଣିଷ ପଶୁ ଶିକାର କଲା, ମାଂସକୁ ଖାଦ୍ୟ ଭାବରେ ଭକ୍ଷଣ କଲା।